Hi, everybody. Sherry Sokolowski here from SLS Event Planning and Consulting, and I am super excited about today's guest, Ron Ipach. Ron and I go back a long ways from the former GKIC days where he used to come to all of our events, and he was one of the guys that it was funny. Ron, we'll talk about this a little bit, how I would go to him and say, Ron, I need you to be a bouncer for me. And when Ron talks about who he is a little bit, you'll probably understand why. When we had a lot of celebrities that would be at our events, and I would need someone to help me kind of muscle through the crowd a little bit, and I would call on Ron, can you help me out with that? Sure, no problem. And he would help me out with that. But besides that, he's a really good friend and someone that I like to call upon every once in a while. And I follow him a lot on Facebook, which probably a lot of you listening do as well. And the reason we're having this call today is we're going to be talking about leadership mindset and what that means for you to be the leader people need you to be, especially right now. And he posted on Facebook the other day just exactly about that. And it really hit home with me because it's, as an event planner, strategic event planner for 15 years, I try to help my clients get that mindset in what they're trying to do as a role model and a leader in their industry so that people know they can count on them. And right now, in the time that we're in, everybody needs someone that they can count on. And the words that he spoke in this Facebook, it was so passionate and it was so right on point. And I think today we all need to hear it. So if you would, Ron, welcome. If you want to tell everyone a little bit about who you are, and we'll go right into it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate you reaching out and having me on. I always love doing things like this because I guess at heart, ultimately what I'm here to do is serve people. Any way you look at it, I'm just like anybody else. Maybe have a bigger mouth, a little bit more opinionated than other people. But, I think the world needs that too. I mean, if everybody sat on their hands and shut up and didn't do anything, nothing would get done. So I tend to get a little fiery on these kinds of things because, there's a lot of passion that I have in here. And, it's kind of funny, with everything that's going on right now, I kind of look at this as like a giant mental reboot, like a reset.
Right.
All these rules that we had, that this is the way things go. And this, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I just do that, that's going to happen. And who would have imagined a pandemic would just wipe the slate clean and just throw out all the rules, throw out all the comfort we felt and the superiority that we, developed in our own minds or whatever, and just erase it overnight and say, okay, here you are, back to square one. What do you got? That's it. And it's exciting and terrifying at the same time. And that's
Very
what's
true.
really, good about it, and so just a little bit about me. I've been in the Dan Kennedy world for, let's see, I ran in GKIC. I ran in Dan at a meeting, I think in Cincinnati in 1995.
Wow.
And so I moved into Planet Dan, way back then. So I've been drinking the Kool-Aid for a very, very long time. And I got out of the world for a little bit because, of course, I got smarter than everybody else. And then all of a sudden, when I realized things started slipping a little bit, I kind of jumped a little bit back into it. I realized, all that sage advice was timeless. It didn't really matter, and so here I am. I've worked with, over 10,000 entrepreneurs, been on stage countless times. I've been Ivanka Trump's bodyguard for a day, thanks to you.
That's right.
So, things like that. So, I've been very blessed to be around a lot of people like you and entrepreneurs and be a mentor and a mentee at this exact same time. I'm always learning. So, and by the way, I don't have all the answers. I just
Right.
have what I've been able to, after I stop pounding my head against the wall, I look back and see what I did. There's my answer, so I'm just
Yeah.
like a lot of other people.
Exactly. And we're all in this together. That's the whole thing.
Mhm.
That's what really attracted me when I stepped into the entrepreneurial world back in 2004, when I started working for a bill glazer, and it, getting into that environment, but how it was all like a family feel. What can I do for you? How can I help you? How can I serve you today? And it was like a family reunion every time we saw one another at these events, right? It was like, oh, how you
Yeah.
been? What you up to? And I cannot wait till we get back to things like that again. But just the mindset, I think, as an entrepreneur, that it's, in my opinion, and probably in yours as well, it's the building of America. It's how we all work together, support that small business, that small mom and pop shop, especially now more than ever, so that they can grow one day. They can support their own families, and they can support their staff and their workers, and just continue that momentum on and on again. And the things that we learned in the GKC days is, what someone is doing in their industry successfully, we can copy that and make it our own. Let's swipe and deploy and make it our own, make it work in our own industry as well. And we look like, ooh, that person knows what they're talking about. That's kind of cool, because they hadn't seen it before, right?
Yeah.
So that, I think, in itself really helps us, like you said, swipe. That's what the old days used to be like. We're in it. We want to build it. We want to be the best in our own right and our own mind in that industry. And, not that we wanted a dog and shoney po and be better than everyone else, but we only looked out for the other person when they needed help, when they asked for it, when they raised their hand and said, hey, do you know someone that could help me with this? Or who do you know that can help me with this? Now I think we need to take that initiative and ask them, what can I do right now to help you? I think for me, that's a super important message. So when you and I spoke a few days ago about how I wanted you to come on and do a talk with me, an interview with me, we were talking about how, if the leadership is crumbling around us, what does that truly mean, and who does that affect? I want to go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and it really is, I think, important for every leader out there, people that and whether you consider yourself to be a leader or not, understand people are watching you, and they're going to kind of look and see how you're reacting. And I think there's a lot of ways to kind of come across, but I found there's a lot more benefit in being more real with the people, but being strong. So the fact that you shed a couple tears, over what's going on and out of concern, I think is perfectly fine. But then at the same time, you cannot be the person that's going to, we're not going to all join hands and sing Kumbaya right now. I mean, this is not the time to do something like that. And if you do something like that, and if you need that position of strength, you need in some ways to virtually give somebody a kick in the pants and say, okay, that's all well and good what's going on right now, but let's get back to work. Let's do what we need to do. And the post that you're referring to was one that I gave to my own clients, were predominantly auto repair shop owners, small mom and pop auto repair shops. Most of them have one location, two locations. So Joe Business basically is who my people are, and they're deemed essential. So fortunate for them, auto repair was considered essential. So no state closed them down, and they had the opportunity to be open. And a lot of them, grabbed onto that as, thank God we can stay open. And others just thought, well, okay, it's time to take a vacation. I'm just going to throw my hands up and I'm just going to say the heck with it. And I took offense to that. Because there's so many business owners out there right now that literally are out of business,
Right.
and I used the example of my people. Thank God we don't own a craft store, because while to some it would be an essential thing, but you'd be hard pressed to say that it's not to denigrate that at all, but in the hierarchy of things, what is really got to be open, that's down further, on the list, certainly than, essentially needing to repair police vehicles and, fire trucks and, things like that.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
and you have that opportunity and you squander it and you just say, well, I'm going to take my PPP money and, I'm just going to, whatever, we'll keep the doors closed. I'll just pay my guys. And, as a leader, I think that is the worst thing you can do, to
I
shut her
agree.
down in fear, to grab in that fetal position and like, oh my God, 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 and like, what's going to go on, is the wrong signal to give somebody. You've worked so hard to get to where you're at. It's being an entrepreneur is never easy. And it's one of those things that, I always love. That's the reason why I love talking with business owners, is because they've done things that most other people, everybody thinks we're crazy for doing what we're doing. There's no security
True.
in what we're doing. And the minute that the times get tough again, it was tough enough to get the business and get, become, get that momentum, and all of a sudden times get tough, and all of a sudden you crawl back, and what does tell your people? If you're the leader of those people, of the business owners, what does that tell them if they're looking for a strong leader, somebody to tell them what to do, somebody to give them sage advice, and you're throwing up your hand saying, I don't know what to do either? it's
Right.
it's the worst thing you could do. You've got to have that passion, and bring it forth to people, and give them the kick in the pants they need. I know I'm kind of going on, but it reminds me back in around 9/11 when this happened. Okay, so
Hmm.
I've been in business long enough that this is now my third recession, probably first depressions, if they're using the D word, but
Yeah.
the third recession, let's call it, that I've brought people through. And I remember the trigger for one of them was 9/11.
Right.
And around that time, and I'm sure everybody kind of remembers that if you're old enough, all people were doing is watching the TV, listening to the news. That's all they were doing all day long, and nothing got done. And I remember
Yeah.
Dan Kennedy sending out a fax to me that snapped me out of it, and I turned around, and the days of this is how we communicate, by fax,
Right. Right.
and I
He
sent out a
says that
scathing
away.
fax to everybody that like, if you are one of the people that are standing around watching the TV, listening to the news, getting sucked into what's going on, the terrorists have won. They disrupted everything because you stopped doing business. And in
Right.
a way, that's kind of what I did with that post that I did the other day, is kind of like
Mhm.
slap upside the head of, look, we can't let this thing win. We've got to get back to work. And the fact that you're allowed to work and you're not working, shame on you. You
Right.
deserve better. Your family deserves better. Your employees deserve better. Your customers deserve better. And if you can't open your business and you had a chance to be open all along, it's your own darn fault. Good riddance. Somebody else will take the business. Somebody else that cared more than you, take the business. And I give everybody permission that if you're gaining more real estate during this time with people that are sitting on their hands, congratulations. Don't be guilty about it. You're doing
Right.
what your clients deserve. So,
I couldn't agree more. And I think what I just want to remind those that are watching this is we understand and we empathize with those, like you said, Ron, that aren't considered essential in the government's eyes and had no choice but to shut down. And they're kind of sitting back. Some are just changing direction and trying to find other ways to make a living. Some people are, for example, if you're sitting there watching TV, you'll see Domino's commercials saying, hey, we're hiring. We know you need to feed your families. So we're here to help feed others to help feed your families. So if you got to go out and get a job somewhere else just to bring an income, we understand that. What we're talking about right now is the leadership mindset for those of you right now who are able to continue to work and be that leader. Because here's what's going to happen. The message that I've been trying to get out to people right now, Ron, a lot is in my podcast that I've been doing with others and interviews like this, and just trying to stay out there, is to say, look, you need to continue, number one, to be your industry leader. You need to let people know you're still there to help and serve, no matter what, even if that means that you pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm struggling today. I lost a client, I lost a customer. I just need someone else in this industry who understands to talk to. Be that person for that someone. Or, hey, I just did this in my business that I didn't think would work, but it worked super cool for me and it was successful, surprised me. I'd like to talk to you about it. Maybe you could do it in your own. It's not a time to hold that stuff close to your chest. It's time to let people know things are working. You can still be successful through this. You could still survive and even thrive through all of this if we do it together. And this message is about having that right mindset. I couldn't agree. When I saw your post, Ron, and you said how upsetting it was for those that had the opportunity to stay open and to not only serve their community, serve the people in the area of a place to go to that's trusted and reliable that they were able to go to before to get their car serviced. And they've got staff relying on that work. And I'll talk about another thought about that in a minute. And then their families. So they shut down because, oh, well, I don't have to stay open. I'm going to, ride the boat of the PPP loans and take the money from the government, which, by the way, other non-essential companies could have used, right? Because they didn't have to close, but the other people did. So that money ran out faster because someone else who really didn't need to do it used it. And not only that, but here's the mindset. As a leader, you have the ability to change the mindset of people who are following you and watching you. Your family is watching you, your staff are watching you, and your customers and your clients are watching you. So by closing down when you didn't have to and taking those loans, people are going on unemployment while you're waiting to get those loans. And they're getting more money on unemployment than they probably have gotten from you through a salary. We can go down this rabbit hole for a moment, right? Where they're going to get more money from the government than you would have paid them. And that's changing their mindset, whether you know it or not, to think, well, even if you say you got your loan and you could bring me back and start paying me, I don't want it. I'm going to continue living off the government because I'm getting more money. Mm-hmm. So you've lost an employee that you may not get back. And what are you going to do? And you're changing their mindset to think that they can get more money from the government instead of working for someone else and getting paid. So as a leader, it is so much a responsibility. We talked about this a little bit about this is what you signed up for, right? To be a leader, to be an entrepreneur, this is what you signed up for. I know a lot of people, at least for me, I went out on my own for many different reasons. Number one, I wanted to start my own business because I wanted to control the lifestyle I had. I wanted my daughter to be home. I wanted to start a family. I wanted to not send her to school, not have someone else watch her, all of these reasons. And through the good Lord and grace of him, I've been able to do that for the last 8 years. My husband's been able to now be home for 3 years because of the choices that we made together and for me being a leader. Now, as an event planner, Ron, of live events, I could cower in a corner and say, my career is over. There's nothing I can do about it. The government shut down live events. What am I going to do? Well, I chose not to do that. I chose to stand because I've got my daughter watching me. I've got my clients watching me. And I got myself watching me. The good Lord watching me. Hey, I gave you a gift. What are you going to do with it? So I'm trying to go out there and I'm using the skills and knowledge to help those that I can help and be that leader. So what could you say to someone right now who is in a situation where their businesses are kind of on hold because of the government regulations that they put into play, or they've lost some customers or clients, but they do want to be that leader? What kind of advice would you give to them of what steps should they put in place right now? Maybe not necessarily if you want to give them business advice, great, but what would you say that they need to kind of do that shift in their mind?
Well, everybody, even though, a pandemic has never shut us down. So let me just kind of go back to the situation that started this thing. The reality is we've seen this before. We've seen times where times got tough and businesses failed, the unfailable business failed, and a business that you're in could never fail, but now it failed. When I say fail, it's, being shut down. So, but we see this, the history is repeating itself. It's just the story changed, so I would say to anybody, regardless whether they're just the business owner or, well, the business owner is a leader too, or a leader of a herd, or, whichever, is go back to the day that you started your business and get back to the excitement that you had when you started your business. I mean, there was excitement, there was fear, but there was also fearlessness, and everybody became very fierce at that time. You're going to do whatever it takes to make this thing work. You didn't know exactly what it was and how to do it at the time. You made it work. You forced it to work. You pivoted when you needed to. You tried things and failed and learned from them, and tried something else and failed and learned from them. I mean, you failed more times than you did succeed. So the way I would kind of look at this and say, look, this is your opportunity to start over, and remember, and I don't think there's anybody out there that didn't go through this, either that or I'm totally crazy. But I know I've gone through this and saying, what could I do if I started over? What would I do differently if I started over? And the excitement of that, going through that, well, I wouldn't do this because now I know better, and I wouldn't do this, and I wouldn't, have this situation going on. Well, guess what? You've got that chance. This is great. Go through the things and rebuild the business the way you want to. You talked about the employees that are staying home making more money now than they did working for you because they're getting extra bump every single week. Look, if they're the kind of person that is not wanting to come to work, were they really the right person to work for you anyway? We just came through a period of overemployment. I say overemployment is because when you're trying to find somebody good for the job you had, a lot of times you wind up settling for somebody far less than that because that was all that was available. That everybody was taken, so you settled in a lot of cases with the employees you had. Guess what? Those people that were the perfect ones that were employed by somebody else are now available on the market. The people I'd be hiring right now, I'd be interviewing right now, because the people, guess what? The people that are willing to come to work and take less money because if they would come back right now and they're going to get that extra $600 a week or whatever it is less, that's somebody you want to have. Now exactly. I don't fault somebody, because I think way back when, hey, taking unemployment and somebody's going to give me an extra $600 to sit on my butt and do nothing. Look, I was that guy. Okay, so I'm not going to be a holier than thou person. I would have done that too, but that was an age of immaturity. Now we're in an age of maturity here, and somebody that would be happy just to come back to work, to work and take less money. Mm-hmm. That's the person I want to stake. The chain is as weak as its weakest link. You've heard that before. Mm-hmm. So the team you have, I'd be looking at every single person on there and saying, is this the strongest person I have in this particular situation? That's provided you have employees. You can do the same thing with your vendors. You can do, on basically every section of your business, but I'd look at, what do you got to do to solidify this thing? The things that you want to be, thinking about in your business, whether a leader, whether you're closed or you're open or whatever, there's four business. And this is, I teach my clients, there's four parts of the business that you really need to be paying attention to. And my business partner calls it being brilliant at the basics. These are the four foundational pieces you have to have. And those four pieces basically are marketing. Let me take a drink here, because when I get excited, I get really I'll be on a roll here. So
okay.
Number one, it's marketing. Because without marketing, you don't have any customers, right?
True.
Now, when you get that customer, is he automatically give you the money? No, you got to sell them something, right? Excuse me. So you got to be good at marketing, attract the right people, the people you want to have, the people that are going to be good quality people, and you got to be able to sell them. Okay. And then what happens when you sell them? Well, guess what? You got to deliver, right? So there's a production that needs to go on. And then ultimately at the end, you need to make money. So you're going to master the finances. Okay. So it's marketing, sales, production, and finances. Those are the four areas that you need to be paying attention to right now. Because look, you've got the time. If you're closed, you've got the time for this.
Right.
And just as an aside, remember all those things we said we would do when we had the time, or we didn't do because we didn't have the time? Guess what? We're still not getting them done, right? So I'm going to throw out all those big promises you made of, I don't have the time, I'll get that when I have time. You got time, you're still not doing it. At least work on these four, all right? And then take each one of those four areas and then split them into like 2 or 3 killer bullet points of each one. Okay. So for example, when it comes to marketing, I'm real big on relationship building marketing. Okay. So, and my auto repair clients, they're singing my praises right now, because that's what I talk about is, building a kick butt relationship with your clients. Well, guess what? The ones that are doing real good right now, and some of my guys are actually doing better now than they were before with fewer clients. But they're not marketing to get new customers in the door. That relationship they've been working on years and years and years is flourishing right now. So if your relationship with your clients isn't the best, well, that's a marketing thing, and that relationship building all the way through the process, I still consider to be marketing. So if you don't have that kick butt relationship with your clients, maybe that's one thing you need to work on when it comes to the marketing. Okay. So I'll just give you one idea in each. The next thing, sales. And how good is your sales process, and what do you even know your numbers? Do you know, how many leads it takes to in order to make a sale, and figure out that process, because any bump or hiccup that you have in the process is costing you money. So figure out what those are. And, again, find 2 or 3 things in each one of those areas and fix those things or put processes them in place or something. The next thing's production, getting the work done. Do you have the right staff? Do you have the right people to get done? Are you outsourcing to the right people if that's what you're doing? Are you trying to do everything yourself? And that's costing you the bottleneck. You get plenty of the marketing. You may have a killer product and everybody wants it. It's easy to sell it, but it's hard to get it done. So there's where your bottleneck is. Kind of fix that. Find the things that are going to uncork that part of that process. And finally, ultimately, look, as a marketer, as a business owner, most people, I'm going to guess, are like me. Money's the last thing. You enjoy what you do and you want to make the money. You don't, I'm not saying we're doing this out of charity, but it's the last thing we pay attention to, because we get so involved in the business that at the end, I'll tell you, most small business owners have no idea how much money they made last year.
True.
They don't know. They have zero idea. They get an idea when they get their taxes. And, hey, I had a good year, or they look at their bank balance, but they don't look at, what they're really making. So they don't understand their numbers. So understanding and mastering the numbers, or even knowing how to read your P&L statement, which like 80% of small business owners have no idea how to read a P&L statement.
Or what it means.
What's that?
P&L. Or what is P&L,
my business partner calls it a P statement, because it's like the only thing you just profit. That's all you really want,
Right. We don't want to know about the loss.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, learn that stuff. So, these are the things that, look, if you have the time, work on them. These are the best things you can do. And by staying busy and focusing on those things and fixing those things, look, it's like revving the engine. So I don't know if you've ever gone to a drag strip. I used to go to them when I was in high school.
Long time.
The smell of burning rubber and everything. But you know what? They're not at that starting line waiting for they call it the Christmas tree to light it, go from red, yellow to green. They don't just sit there and then it turns green, then they stomp on the accelerator. They don't do that. No, if you ever watched it, that engine is revving. That car is torquing. It's raising up in stance, because there's so much pressure that's being put on the engine and the brakes at that point so that as soon as that thing turns green, they're off in a shot.
Yeah.
They don't decide at that point, we're going to press on the gas. The gas was pressed long before then. So think of your business the same way. Eventually, we're going to get out of this. This is not going to be, yeah, we've got a new normal we're going into, but you're going to get back to business. Is it going to be the same business? I don't know. Probably not. You'll do business differently, and you get to reinvent or pivot what you do, or maybe it is going to be the exact same business. But whatever it is, figure that out now as best you can. Get everything ready so that the minute the governor says you can open your doors if you're forced shut, or in your case that people can, get their start doing seminars and things like that. You're revved, you're ready to go. And as soon as, boy, you're like, boom, off the starting gate. Because your competitors, guess what they're doing?
They're doing it.
Oh, I finally get to go back to work, and they wake up that Monday morning thinking, what are we going to do today? And that's where you grab your real estate. That's where you become most effective when you're resting. It's the downhill skier. I remember distinctly, I was watching the Olympics one year, and it just impacted me so much. The guys were doing the giant slalom, just crazy, flying down the mountain. And the guy, as fast as they were going, the guy's losing time. And he says he's tensing up. He needs to relax. And I'm thinking, relax? You're doing like 80 miles an hour down this mountain. Yeah. And you're supposed to relax. Well, when you relax, that's when you gain speed, and so a lot of this thing is, I'm not saying relax now. Relaxing now is not going to, gain the speed. Relaxing is when you know what you're doing. You go forward with confidence. You're not stressing so much because you have a lot more clarity, because you worked on those 4 areas and you broke them down into 3 things. Now you've got a plan. You've got a picture. You got something to work on, and you're not staying awake at night saying, what's my business going to look like? If anything, you'll stay awake at night like, I can't wait to get going and test this or try this or do something different. This is an amazing opportunity we've been given. It's not a curse, and it is how you look at it.
All on how you look at it.
Is this half full or half empty?
Right.
Just and just go from it like that. There's so much opportunity.
There's a lot of opportunity, and I mean, just everything, folks. If you missed that, you need to rewind this and go back, because man, Ron just laid down. I got about a page and a half of notes here that I just took from what Ron just talked about with those 4 points. But now is the time to work smarter instead of harder. I mean, taking myself for example, as a solopreneur for 8 years, I was event after event after event after event, and I would hear these wonderful ideas and see what other people are doing. And I'm like, I want to do that in my business. When am I going to have the time to do that? And I'd have piles of notes of things that I've written down when I hear a speaker talk from stage and what this person is doing in their business. I'm like, I really, really want to do this. And I just couldn't do it. So I was working hard for my client. I was working in my business for my clients instead of on it. So I'm pivoting to now use this time wisely to work on my business, to try to find ways and put processes into place so that I am working smarter. So that, like you said, with that race car driver, as they're sitting there revving up, when things start opening back up, I'm going to be ready to go. I got processes into place that wasn't there before, that is going to make my job a lot easier and smoother, and probably even better for my clients down the road, because they're going to get more value from it. And that's what I'm also teaching my clients now, is it does, even though live events can't happen yet, they will at some point. So use this time wisely to take an opportunity you didn't have before, go back to the event you had planned and revamp it. Make it a better experience than it would have been before. What can you then now add? Maybe you can go back and get a speaker that was booked before that you could now get because their time is free. Using the opportunity to go virtually, to get in front of people that didn't know about you before, that could then be part of your tribe. Stay in front of the people now, like you're trying to tell with the building the relationships, within your marketing, building that that relationship with your clients that you have so that they know you're still there. They don't go anywhere else. That's probably why people are prospering now more than ever, because if they're staying out there and they're staying relevant and they've got that mindset of, I'm here, they're probably doing better because they're letting their clients know that they are, because they know that their clients know they can go to them and trust them. They don't have to go somewhere else,
Do you
right?
know what the number one thing that's working best for my clients is? Just simply calling and checking in, not
Yeah.
asking for business. Just say,
Mhm.
how you doing? Is there anything we can do for you? So if you got a small,
Like,
if you got a local shop or something like that, call your people. I mean, some of them haven't talked with people in a very long time,
yeah,
depending on who your clients are, and they appreciate it. Don't go in with the mindset of, I got to make a sale today. It's,
right.
hey, what can I do for you? And we've had
Exactly.
people, run into the store to pick up groceries for some of their elderly people, or just
Yeah,
the fact that you offered, and do it
right.
with that. It all depends on the mindset you go into it with.
Yep.
If it's have a profit mindset, as well, it's going to backfire on you. If
Yep.
you go in with a thing of, you honestly care for your clients and you really want to help your clients, just make those calls, whether it's small mom and pop, or if you're even a virtual business and your people are all over the country, just simply reaching out and saying, hey, what can I do for you? How can I best serve you?
Right.
Let's have a conversation. Let's set up a Zoom call like this, and
Yeah.
let's have a quick mastermind call, and let's see what you guys are doing, what you need help with. Things like that is there's
Absolutely.
action. Sitting around watching Netflix all the time. Look, the Lion Show thing, everything, everybody's watched that a long time ago. There's not a sequel to it. What are you watching now? Pay attention to the things that you're putting in your mind. Get off Facebook. That's my biggest
Exactly.
my biggest thing right now. Because it's a no-win situation. I had somebody arguing with on a math thing that I did. They're looking for a fight. Just stay away from that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, mindset is everything in your life. It's your personal life, it's your health, it's your finances, it's your business. I mean, anything and everything. If you've got the right mindset, it's just going to do wonders for you. I mean, I can give a great example of how simple this is. But my daughter last night, we in the beginning of all of this, having to stay home and things being shut down, it wasn't a huge change of lifestyle for us because we're kind of homebodies anyway. I work from home. My husband's a stay-at-home dad. We homeschool our daughter, so the only time we go out and about is when we want to go to the gym or take her to the park or fun stuff for her or to the store, something like that. But, I don't leave the house every day to go to another job. Neither does my husband. My daughter doesn't go to a public school or outside to do things like that. So it wasn't a huge change at first. But after weeks and weeks and weeks, it's like, oh, mom, when can we go to the park? And so it's like we had to introduce, the tutor that we had coming a few times a week with her for homeschooling hasn't been here. So we had to introduce the iPad system in to give her the additional. So now she's in front of that thing more than she had before. And it's like trying to give her something else to do other than playing. She's like watching video games on her iPad. And it messes with her mind. And she's a brilliant child with a huge imagination. And I could see after a day or two of her being in front of this for more hours than need be, her mind changed,
Yeah.
right? The imagination of that child went like, I don't know what to do. I'm so bored and frustrated. And her attitude was like raw and just agitated and
Mhm.
just fussy. And I'm like, we're not doing this anymore. Taking that away. And I do my best to explain to a 6.5-year-old why. I'm not punishing you. You didn't do anything wrong. But I gave her an example as to, you see this going on and you don't like it. What do we need to do about it? We need to change it, mommy. Right. So we change it. So last night she's like, oh God, take this virus away. I want to go to a park. And she's like, mommy, I'm mad sad. And I'm like, why are you mad sad? Well, I can't go out to a park. I can't go to the jumpy place and I can't do this. And I'm like, well, honey, think about your blessings. So I'm trying to shift her mindset. I'm like, Do you have food? Yes, mommy. Do you have a warm home? Yes, mommy. Do you have clean clothes? Yes. Do you have a bed? Do you have toys? Yes. So she's answering all of these things. And I said, well, here's what's even more important that you're not thinking is a blessing. Do you have parents who love you and care for you and take care of you and you're in a safe environment? Yes, mommy. There are kids who aren't. Really? So she realized quickly, so her mind shifted. It's that simple, folks. You
Yeah.
know, putting the positivity, doing the right thing, making forward steps. What else can I do to serve? Picking up the phone and calling a client or a former client that you haven't heard from in a while, saying, hey, how are you doing in all of this? I can get out and about. Do you need some groceries? How are things going with you? Or even just chatting. I just wanted to hear from you. Or
Mhm.
sending a postcard saying, I'm thinking of you. You know, People need to know that we care, just consistently putting the positive out of it instead of the
Mhm.
negative, like you were trying to do. Let's talk about the positive. How many more people aren't affected by this? Let's talk about that instead of the negative.
Yeah.
So,
That's,
the mind
people
shift.
don't want to accept that people are still safe and healthy. They
Yeah,
only
it's like
want to
a
hear
party.
about all the bad stuff that's out there. And it's a shift that I'm trying to make as much as possible with
Yes.
people. Um, but really it comes down to, and you mentioned it before, is it starts with the gratitude that you have.
Yeah.
Everything starts with that gratitude, because we can wallow in our own stuff, and we can look at through the rear view mirror, and we have to stop looking through the rear view mirror. Our business is not going to be the same what it was
Right.
2.5 months ago. It's not going to be going forward. It could be a whole lot better. It could be
Exactly.
way better. But looking and lamenting in the rear view mirror and the woe is me and things like that, look, you're okay. Have your pity party. If you haven't had your pity party, go have it. Grab a sledgehammer, knock that wall down in the kitchen that you didn't want to have anyway, or whatever it takes. Go bust some stuff up. Just get mad, let it all out, and then start rolling up your sleeves and saying, okay, what do I got to do to fix this thing? How grateful do you need to be to like the things you just said? You've got, you've got a place to sleep. You might be behind on payments on it right now, but you got a place to sleep. You got
Yeah.
food on the table. But you got opportunities. You're an entrepreneur. You create your own wealth, and you get a
Yes.
chance to do that again. And it's that entrepreneurial roller coaster we're on. We just happen to be in a low spot right now, coming off of a really terrifying long drop. Well, guess
Mhm.
what? We picked up a lot of momentum on that thing, and guess what? We're going to head right back up. It's a never-ending ride. It's never going to be perfect. And if you want to, tuck your tail in and hide, maybe the best thing to do is be a great employee for somebody else, if that's really what it comes down to, because it's okay. It
Yep.
really is okay, because what's happening out here can be very terrifying for people. And I'd rather you keep your mental health and just go work for somebody. You're going to be a phenomenal employee for somebody else. But
Mm-hmm.
if that just makes your skin crawl, then then do what you're doing now. Be an entrepreneur. Just be a good one, and embrace the bad things, because bad things are always going to happen. It's never perfect. I've been in this so long, and I've achieved a lot of things, but man, I've gotten so low I had to grab a shovel to get down further. And it's always going to be that way. But everybody talks about those high points, and that's the thing about social media and things like that. We're looking at that highlight reel of everybody's lives. We're
Right.
not. Nobody talks about the depths of despair of how upset they are of their business and things like that. People don't talk about that
No.
as much, or very rarely. When they're talking about success, they're talking about the high points. So understand, I go through it, you go through it, everybody goes through it. It's okay. It's not
Yep.
okay to keep it where it is right now, but it's
Mhm.
okay to have experienced it and realize, okay, we've hit the bottom. It's time to bounce. It's a ball. We bounced, or that roller coaster, we're going to head right back up. And you determine your momentum now.
Exactly. It's your moment to shine, right?
Mhm.
It's what can you do to realize the things? I mean, there's so much opportunity in this in a business standpoint, a personal standpoint. My pastor talked about this on the service last Sunday, virtual, for those of you wondering, where it's time to unclutter. We have been forced to calm our lives. So many people for so long was running from this appointment to that appointment, from this kid's game to that kid's game, to this business appointment, to that phone call, to this business meeting, to this, to that. Half the time they don't even know where they are or what day it is. They were so busy to where they didn't even have time for the things that mattered, which is their health and their family. So now people are forced to, in the beginning of this, people thought it was cool because it was like, I got an opportunity to stay at home with my family and take my mind off of everything else. Game nights came back, dinners around the table came back, those kinds of things, to where seeing people and their parents playing outside with their kids for the first time in ages coming back. Let's not lose that, right? One of my messages that I try to tell people is, let's take the good out of this scenario, this situation that we're in, and find ways to keep that good in your life. Like you said, your business is going to come back. Business is going to come back. It's going to look different. Everybody's got a different name for it. The new abnormal, the new normal, the hybrid, or whatever things are going to look like post-COVID-19. It's going to be a long time because people are still going to be living in fear. So even though things are reopening, you're still going to have people who are afraid I'm going to wait for a couple more months and see what happens. And we don't know what's going to happen. We hope and pray for all of the best, but it still doesn't mean you sit and wait. You got to get out there now and prepare before it's too late. It's like, well, I was trying to use that example with my daughter is she's constantly in front of the iPad for days, for hours that she wasn't before. And she's starting to shrink down in her posture and her attitude and her look on her face. And she was more tired at night and slept in longer. It's like, what is this machine doing to my child? Think about what that does to you in your life every day, sitting on Facebook and watching the social media threads, or sitting in front of the TV watching all of this stuff going on and watching the news and all this, instead of re-examining your business. What can I do to make that change, make that shift, to do the good stuff that people still need? People still need your help. People still need your service. You just may have to tweak things, and things may have to be done differently.
Yeah, and look, for the people that you're doing event planning for, if they're used to being on stage,
Yes.
sometimes that stage persona is totally opposite of what your persona is. They
Right.
love you on stage, they're going to hate you off stage. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yes.
Or vice versa. You got a great connection with people. When you get on stage, you're not right there. It doesn't matter. It's this the time to work on and making everything work together. And again, find out where your flaws are. And you may have thought you had the most perfect business ever, and the greatest lifestyle ever, and most bulletproof business ever. Guess what?
Guess what? Not
It's
everybody's
not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because we're as Sherry, as you said, we're all in this together. We never dreamed this, but the fact is, it's happening. So
Yes.
what we do right now is going to determine what the kind of life we're going to have later on. Too many people are sitting around doing nothing to make their business better, and they're going to feel that pinch later on. And look, if you're not going to do anything about it and your business goes down, I can't feel sorry for you, especially since you've watched this.
Right.
I'll feel bad for people that didn't have anybody to give them that message or that slap upside the head and say, what are you doing? Let's go. But a lot of people are going to lose a lot of real estate, and a lot of real estate is going to be gained. The biggest companies in the world were formed during recessionary times, or just before recession. They started off in really bad times, and that only catapulted them. So, let's just use this time wisely.
Exactly. So as we wrap up here today, Ron, I want to thank you so much for these golden nuggets. The 4 parts of the business you talked about, the brilliance and the basics, those that are watching this, you need to rewind and go back to that and take massive notes, because that is massive action that you need to be thinking about. People are watching. That's the big thing right now. Is there are people that aren't doing anything and they're sitting back and they're waiting, but people are waiting and watching. They're watching to see who is going to be the leader that they need them to be. And if you're not yet that leader and you want to be, take this opportunity right now and shine. And who knows? You may become something that you never thought you could be before. So use this opportunity right now to try it. What do you have to lose? You truly don't have anything to lose right now, because you have a lot to gain. For those leaders that have been a leader for a while and you're stumbling right now because you just don't know which direction to go, what you were doing isn't working, well, reach out to others and find out what is working for them. Even if it means just to chat on the phone for a few minutes, you're going to walk away feeling better. Go out into other industries and see what they're doing that you can bring back to your own. Just do something. Do something that is positive in your life, positive in your business, positive with your family, to help you shift that mindset that we talked about here today with Ron. You got to jump in. If you don't, someone else will. Right? Like you said, there's a lot of real estate to be had here, and it's not going to end. It's unfortunately, as things are reopening, some people aren't going to be able to. So, as you're building, as you're growing, as you're planting those seeds, like you said, you don't have to go after that phone call and make that phone call thinking you're going to walk away with a new client. What you need to do with that mindset is think that you're doing it to serve, to let them know that you're there, to care. And you may not get business from them, but they may refer someone to you because you meant that much to them at that moment. So business could come from anywhere. It's just a matter of doing the right thing, thinking the right way, and taking action. So, I want to thank you again, Ron, for this. It's been very eye-opening for me. Lots of notes that I've taken here myself, and I hope those of you watching are also taking lots of notes. As we wrap up here today, if you have feedback, I'd love to hear from you in regards to what we talked about here with Ron. Please leave your questions here. We posting this on my YouTube channel, Ron. So anybody who has questions, I'd love for you to place it down here. If you enjoyed this interview with Ron as much as I did, and he would be gracious enough to come back again, and you'd love to have an opportunity to talk with him, please let me know. Sure, Ron would be happy to do so. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
No problem. I love doing this. Like I said in the beginning, I
Yeah, it's fun.
love doing this kind of stuff. I could do this all day long.
Right? I know. I absolutely love it myself. It's one of those things where I knew I needed to do it, and I've been trying and wanting to do it for so long, but just didn't have the time to do it. So it's a lot of fun for me, because you just never know where the conversation is going to go. And the other part of this for you watching is you never know what you're going to learn. It's the opportunity will present itself if you're looking for it. So, for those of you, this is Sherry again from SLS, Event Planning and Consulting, here with Ron Ipach, a very good friend of mine, someone I've known and admired for a number of years, with a lot of really great information, not just about mindset, but business in itself. You need to go back through this interview and re-listen to his 4 pointers on the building blocks and basics of your business, what you need to do, what you need to be refocusing on right now while you have the time to do it. Take care and stay safe.